Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? Is the president a monarch who can send American agents and troops into foreign countries to do battle for humanitarian reasons anywhere in the world? Tonight, a foreign policy based on freedom. Senate Democrats today made a grand gesture of offering Republicans a whopping $33 billion in cuts to the federal budget for this year. This is such a tiny number when compared with the president's wishes to borrow another $500 billion just to tie us over until October, that it can charitably be characterized as a joke. This is like owing $14,000 on a debt and then skipping your morning bagel and acting like it will make a difference. It's laughable, and it does nothing to address meaningfully the enormous debt that we can no longer afford. It also shows that the Democrats are not serious about addressing debt. On the House Republican side of the Capitol, there's a different dynamic entirely. There, Speaker Boehner sits in a box, with old guard Republicans wanting cuts for 2012, about twice the size of what the Democrats want to cut for the remainder of 2011, and Tea Partiers preparing to dump the Speaker into a political Boston Harbor if he so much as smiles at a budget cut less than Senator Rand Paul's $500 billion proposal. The limited government movement has set its sights on all establishment Republicans in their home districts, and challenges to incumbents are likelier than ever if they don't hold to their promises of significant spending cuts. Here is the baseline. We cannot borrow any more money. The president must operate the government from the revenues he collects. If he can't do that, he should look for another job. If the Republicans in the House fail to compel him to do that, they should expect primary rejections next year. But the Tea Party is far from united on all policies. While most of them in the movement want to stop borrowing, cut spending, and lower taxes, the divide on foreign policy rears its ugly head as our Nobel Prize peace-winning president bombs and invades a fifth Muslim country. Conservatives in the free market movement have already begun to accept libertarian economic principles. The real rift in the movement is in foreign policy. So what is a true freedom-based foreign policy? Yesterday, it was revealed that President Obama signed a secret order that authorized American officials to advise Libyan rebels, to arm them, and to spy for them. And he did this 3 weeks ago, while on Monday, the president declared a winding down of America's mission in Libya in days. It is clear that his policy of no boots on the ground is profoundly untrue. How can he laser guide his bombs? And how can his intelligence agents provide intel to rebel forces? And how can he arm the rebels if Americans are not on the ground, whether in uniform or out, whether their feet are protected by boots or sandals? The president's game plan is to fight another war against a hated opponent, Colonel Gaddafi, with the consent of international and foreign groups and not the consent of the Congress, at an estimated cost of $2 billion a day. How much of that did he tell you on Monday? On Monday, he offered Americans no respect with misleading words and secret actions. Last week, the president met with none other than Bill Kristol to measure his support for the president's decision to wage war on Libya. In an article entitled, "You've Come a Long Way, Baby," Mr. Kristol, a colleague of mine at Fox, declared that President Obama has, quote, entered the foreign policy mainstream. And later on Fox, Bill called the president, quote, a born-again neocon. So ask yourself this, America. Is a foreign policy of perpetual war your mainstream American foreign policy? Is it the policy of America that whenever blood is spilled in the world, we circle like sharks for a piece of the action? Do you want your government roaming the world looking for monsters to slay? What can be the antidote to such ruinous venom? The answer is clear, and you know it. It is a return to first principles. The founding of the American experiment, the founding of this country, was established upon a humble foreign policy. The Boston Tea Partiers threw off the British Empire so they could establish a Republican form of government, not another empire. They didn't want to rule the world. They rejected monarchy and the concept of empire. And they fought for their liberties to practice their religion, raise their children, work hard and provide for their families, enjoy sound money, and for nothing more than to be left alone and free. Freedom includes the right to trade with anyone, anywhere on the planet, providing the government stops killing them. But the siren call for the glory of empire has returned to the White House, and even some Tea Partiers set sail in politics for the first time are learning their lessons about what constitutes a foreign policy of freedom. So what shall it be, America? Shall we follow the advice of the founders and restore a humble foreign policy of trade and friendship? Or shall we ourselves have a king and rule as an international empire again? When Freedom Watch was launched almost a year ago, and we billed it as your night watchman, some in government and on another cable channel that very few of you watch actually laughed. Now you know that the government is like a thief in the night, and there is much for us to watch, and we will continue to do it for you.